New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev BRZ and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And good morning, dear ones. Dr. Robert behind the placard here. My apologies for that. Good morning. Hello. It's Friday morning. It's 7 a.m. on the Mountain Time Zone. That means it is time for Ministers Talking Chit. My dear brother, Reverend Alzia, is not with us here this morning. As sometimes happens, I didn't properly schedule a guest. But best of wishes to dear Alzia as he's traveling today. And you get me. So that means feel free to comment in the questions or question in the comments. Either way, either direction. Feel free to interact this morning as we go along and explore some of what's going on in the world. I don't know about you, but my head has been on a swivel this week, wondering which way our president is going to go in regards to the Jeffrey Epstein files. Is he on the list? Is he not on the list? Does it matter anymore at this point if he's on the list? Because MAGA, the universe would appear to have woken up to how much they've been conned. We're going to have to wait and see. If you haven't been following the story, folks, I don't blame you. I'm not here to try to rehash what everybody else out there is saying. I'm saying, how do we take a more spiritual perspective of it all? And the whole concept of this is pretty indefensible in any way you look at it, because we're talking about something we're not supposed to talk about in polite society, and we're talking about something here that I'm not supposed to say on YouTube. And I've seen some pretty interesting people speaking out, because anytime the subject contains any sort of harm towards children, we're not talking underage models, we're not talking younger women, we're talking children here. Anytime the subject involves harm to children, to me, that's just unacceptable. And something must be done to prevent whatever it is from happening again, or to any other children in the future. And to hold those accountable for their behaviors, for their actions. Whether that's direct or whether that's through a cover-up or obfuscation or just outright turning a blind eye. That's the thing we have to get to more and more, I believe, not only in New Thought, but in society as a whole, is remembering not to turn the blind eye. it would be very, very easy to tune out all of this. But what we know is consciousness is everything. And so if those of us that do have a heart, if those of us that are living on the balance side, on the side of joy, and if we're not involved in the healing, then the only consciousness out there is the one that says this is okay. Or, well, he's doing so much good for the country. Or he's doing so much good for this company that I own stock in. And folks, I believe Donald Trump made a promise to the American people to go to Washington and drain the swamp. Regardless of whether I wanted to see it that way, regardless of my belief, it would appear he has been consumed by the swamp. I wish him well in his health experience. I wish no one to suffer. And I think the MAGA world is waking up to the fact that they've been lied to. So it can't be a bad thing, can it? We can be gentle. We can be, but in this, something else that's been coming to me this morning is in this, journalism, I think it would appear that commercial television is where journalism is going to die, or has gone to die, in the traditional sense. I see a lot of citizen journalism now. In some ways, New Thought Media Network is that. I have been talking about this for a little over a year or so now, that we are becoming a place that documents as much as disseminates. We're a place that is documenting. Now, we have our biases, obviously. This show, it says it's based on ancient philosophies and New Thought wisdoms. Or the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, excuse me. And we, so we have our biases, and everybody believes that their biases are out there making the world a better place. What I believe is that we are moving into an age where the independent experience of and the journalism of that is going to become more and more and more and more and more important. CBS announced, and Stephen Colbert. Now, I'm not huge on late night television. I don't hang on late night television, and all that. And they have announced that they're terminating the Late Show. Not replacing Stephen Colbert, not firing Stephen Colbert, but ending the show in May of next year. So he's got one more season behind the desk, and then along one of the longest running programs, the Tonight Show. I'm old enough to remember Johnny Carson, and I'm not old enough to remember who came before Johnny Carson, but there is a trivia question for you. And for if anybody's watching that knows, you put that in the comments. That gets you bonus points. And not to try to equate Stephen Colbert with journalism, but we have to equate Stephen Colbert with a voice of social conscience. And I think I'm going to love it. I think we're going to love it. If we've seen anything in the last 5 to 10 years, it's the move from the corporate mainstream media, news and journalism, into more independent. And if we look at the rise and the growth of Substack right now, this is not a new platform, and it is taken on new life as so many people find that they cannot operate in a corporate setting because of the backdoor politics, because of the good old boy network. And there is already speculation that this Stephen Colbert exit is in some ways, now here's the thing, it's not directly tied to the fact that he criticized and commented on Paramount, who owns CBS and is trying to be sold to somebody or bought by somebody or buying somebody, or that's the point. They jumble all this stuff up, so we don't know who we're really listening to. Z and I had talked about it a couple of times. We live in a post-truth world. It's just I was about to say, that's the truth of it. We live in a post-truth world. There was a time when we trusted the news completely, where the news was a voice of trust. Not so more anymore. I don't personally trust any of the major networks. They all appear to me to be operated by and for the sole purpose of generating money, of generating money for their stockholders, of generating money for their owners, of generating money for whoever is sitting at the top. And I want there to be media. I hold a vision where the media is there to help inform the public, not about all the ugly things that are going on in the world, but about the good things that we can do together. About the things that are happening that remind us we really are living in a world that works better when we all work together. I saw some video this morning of a Syrian news reporter. Woman was delivering the news, and the background was a large window overlooking the city she's in. And while she's delivering the news, a missile lands. It would appear it did not, and it's an Israeli missile. It would appear it was targeting a defense ministry building. However, it also appears that the missile landed out in front of the building, and it does not look like the building was damaged heavily. It may have been damaged somewhat. They didn't stay with the shot for very long. My point in that is that you could tell was real, but it's very, very hard otherwise. Many of us have been brought up. I used a reference a few weeks back. Excuse me, not on this program, but on another, or maybe it was a comment online. But anybody remember the movie Wag the Dog? I forget who was in it because it wasn't like it was big, huge name people in it, and not to belittle any of the actors that were in that movie. It was fabulous. I loved it. Such a great story, premise in the whole thing, and it feels like we're once again in place where we're wagging the dog, where the tail is wagging the dog, and proof is being created to justify a point of view, or in this case, perhaps to protect some people in power. What we've experienced this week with as I opened my head on a swivel even continues this morning, because after trying everything from distracting us with sugar, Donald Trump tried to distract the American public with sugar from a story where he is being asked to prove that he didn't do the stuff we don't talk about. And he tried to distract us with real sugar, cane sugar in our Coca-Cola. How incredibly American and how incredibly just rude. After having berated his base, after having stated he doesn't need his base. So you know something we don't know? After having Trump 2028 hats hanging on the wall of the Oval Office. And I know if you're the type of person, I know that this isn't going to, these clips aren't going to go viral. We're not going to have 1 million people watching my little rant here this morning. And we have to be able to adequately, clearly, calmly explain what it is we're seeing for those that aren't able to see right now. However, things look good because the MAGA universe is waking up. And I read another article this morning, and it was predominantly about Trump and now his health concerns, and when I got to the point where the article that said it is a fairly common, what Trump is experiencing with his veins and such is fairly common in elderly adults. The stat they used was that about 5% from this ailment, this condition, this sign of aging that our president is exhibiting. 5%. 5% is common. Really? That means common? Think of 100 people you know. 5 of you may get this. That's common. And by the end of the article, it trails off telling us that Trump is the second oldest president ever, second only to Joe Biden, and that Joe Biden didn't have this, and that Joe Biden did have this, and he was really bad at that debate once. And the article continued on for like 4 more paragraphs explaining, and I thought to myself, this is part of the problem right here. We have become so addicted to the story. We've become so addicted to the story that we will watch a 15-minute news video that tells us the same exact headlines that everybody else is telling us. Because we got to remember, our government at this point doesn't actually communicate in whole sentences all the time. Our government doesn't actually give us all the information most of the time. All right, rarely. Is 5% common? They give us 1%. Is that not uncommon? The news this morning is now President Donald Trump is instructing Pam Bondi to search for or to seek release of the Epstein grand jury testimony. So now there is an Epstein file. And it doesn't matter who started it, and it doesn't matter who put what in there. I want to be able to trust that what's been put in there over the years is the best of our understanding of the situation. And I want to shout out kudos to those internet comedians. I don't want to call them comedians. Those with a social call to remind the public this isn't exactly anything new. Donald Trump was in Epstein's phone book decades ago. There's receipts. They have them. There are photographs of the two of them together and more. According to the New York Times now, there is, or was it the Wall Street Journal? Somebody, I saw the headline. There's a hand signed birthday card that includes a lewd drawing of a woman, and that Trump sent to Epstein. I don't need 15 minutes to understand what the implications of that. We've gotten to a point where the only real journalism is independent journalism, and independent journalism is trying to milk it just like mainstream journalism. In the past year, there are a collection of creators that I have watched that went from sharing 3 and 4 minute clips to sharing 15 to 20 minute clips. And the problem is they're not saying anything more. They're just taking 3 times as long to say it. And I have a vision for something different. I have a vision where politicians don't lie for each other and then lie about their lies and lie about their lies. And I've been reminded so much lately that the easiest way to not get caught in a lie is to always tell the truth. New Thought teaches us how we live that. New Thought, for me, gives us an opportunity to live that. And I don't think you have to live in a New Thought life or a New Thought world or be part of a spiritual community. Looking at a headline here, or a spiritual community to live life according to truth. But I do think we have to be very careful and cautious of who we listen to. I'm really proud of the people that make up this network. I'm really proud of the people that make up this network. I'm really proud of the people that watch this network, that participate in this network. And whether you're here watching with us live on a Friday morning, or whether you're watching this at another time, or perhaps you're hearing this on a podcast and just have no idea what I look like at this point, you're just listening along as you drive. I love, I honor, I respect those that are helping in any way to create what I believe is a collective voice for good, a collective voice of truth, a network where we can wrestle with the tough stuff because there is a solid basis, a solid shared belief in the oneness of life. I want New Thought Media Network to forever be an avenue through which we can approach truth. An avenue where we can discuss how truth is showing up and the stuff that's showing up that's not truth. We are not a nation of pedophiles. We are not a nation. We are not a nation that harbors and embraces and promotes criminals to the highest office. Now, it may appear otherwise at the moment. But I don't believe that's our truth. I believe that's a misstep we've taken. Yes. And Linda's Linda, good to see you, Linda. Glad you're with us. I'll change the subject with you. Absolutely. It looks like those of us who support PBS and NPR need to increase our donations a bit. Yes. And it would appear that he will sign the bill that yes, there are going to be drastic cuts. And overall, yeah, it would be right up the president's playbook at this point to work to silence these avenues. And I don't want that to be a belief that we won't come back. I don't want anybody out there to believe that this is the beginning of the end, and we don't go down those doomsday roads. I'm not saying you are, Linda, by any means. Not saying, again, people watching this show, we are the ones that are going to help remind other people that yes, things do look bad right now. And well, to borrow the words of Ernest Holmes, to desert the truth in the hour of need is to prove that we never knew the truth to begin with. And when things look the darkest, this is still Holmes, when things look the darkest, that is the supreme time to do this work in consciousness. Now, in Holmes's time, and many of us wish he had continued and added a little something in there about doing the work not only in consciousness, but allowing that consciousness to outpicture into our activities. And so that may mean, yes, donating a little extra to your local PBS. It may mean donating a little something extra to your favorite independent journalist or network. It may mean that we are, this may mean that we are being forced to look even beyond our own sacred biases to a greater expression and experience of the truth. I would love to see PBS and NPR continue to be funded as they are. And in today's reality, today's human experience, we all better start thinking that's possible again. And that funding may need to come from other places than the federal government at this point. These are very complex issues and very complex questions. And I don't want to pretend that I'm qualified to answer them. And truthfully, I wish he would stop pretending he is too. I would really wish our president would stop pretending he is qualified to make these types of decisions, or that he understands the nuances of what's happening, because I don't believe he does. I think he was a rich party boy who somehow fell into a belief system where underage children were acceptable partners in adult situations. I don't know how he made that slide. I don't know how you go from where all the privilege he was afforded. If anything, Trump is a cautionary tale of the American adage that any little boy can become president. And I never believed he was qualified, but what's happening, what is being demonstrated this past week, it is proof positive that he's gone beyond. He has slipped beyond the realm of human consciousness at this point. And we shall persist. Yes, Linda, continue. Right? Everybody out there, make calls. If you can't make the call, go to an event. And if you can't go to an event, make a call and share the good news that you see happening. We don't have to dwell on our quote enemies' misfortunes. We don't have to celebrate when they get it wrong, or they stick their foot in their mouth, or they get caught in a lie. We just have to be paying attention. We just have to remember this is what we're not going to do when it's our turn again. We have to remember that there is a higher vision, a higher consciousness emerging and evolving here, and we're witnessing the events that are the outpicturing of a dying consciousness. The road before us is long and holds many, many twists and turns. And in one of those twists out in the future, in one of those turns out in the future, we're going to look back on this moment and we are going to realize how incredibly powerful we are in helping to keep the ship moving, in expanding the consciousness by first being who we are and who we came here to be, and then being that. I was looking around for some good news this morning. I didn't find any. I know where to find some though, and I know when we highlight on that later tonight, 5:00 Mountain Time. And now the good news. I encourage you to come back later this afternoon. Reverend Barbara Jean out of Toronto, Canada, has stepped into the host seat of that program, and wow, is she doing a great job bringing us good news stories, reminding us of the good news that is happening, and how together we really are creating a world that works better for everyone. I encourage you to join us later tonight, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, here on the New Thought Media Network for the good news. Right before, and that is followed by our fireside chat with Reverend Michael Mangus. He and his guests take a look at some of the top news stories from a spiritual perspective as well. The fireside chat is at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Between now and then, we have a couple of other things as well. The Joy Show is at 1 p.m., again with Robert Jean. And at 11 o'clock, the High Vibe Hour with Rev Skip, Cynthia Breeze, and a new guest host coming on. I should know this name, but I don't. I'm going to have to learn. They have a new guest host that's joining as of this week. So it's a great week to watch. It's great Friday. It is a great Friday to be here on New Thought Media Network. And I want to thank you for being a part of it all. Also, as we head into the hot days of summer and the middle days of summer, it's more important than ever to help us keep the donations up and help keep our financial coffers overflowing. Cuts are being made everywhere else. Please don't let us become part of the cuts in your budget. Please help us keep spreading this message out into the New Thought world. ntmedia.org/donate. And we do still receive paper checks in the mail, by the way. So thank you to those that send paper checks. Linda, dear one, I know we just got your check for the month, and we always appreciate your support. I'll take that moment. I know you're here to say that directly. Thank you so much for how you support this network. All right, folks, I'm going to get out of here for now. Thanks again for being with me. Check out more what's going on the New Thought Media Network throughout the week and today. Until next time, I want to wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.